I think it'll be a tough game for England, mainly because of what happened 2 years ago. I think the Irish will remember that. That was an absolute kicking that they took at Twickenham 2 years ago, particularly in the scrum. And you tend to remember that, especially there's a lot of those players will play again next weekend. So I think it'll be tough, but both sides have shown that they can perform particularly well, and whoever finds that best form, you'd have to fancy England as favourites, but the Irish driving game was particularly impressive against the Welsh. Well, not as commanding as France. I think if the French can beat the Welsh and take it to that last game, I think it's strange. I think over the last few seasons it's always gone to the last game as a Grand Slam decider. So it could end up being France-Ireland as a Grand Slam decider, last game of the season.
Well, they'll still think that they are relying on other teams to mess up, and in particular France to go and lose it in the Millennium Stadium, which is a distinct possibility. I think the way the fixtures have panned out this year, actually it'll be very difficult for anyone to win the Grand Slam, but Ireland are probably in pole position for that. But they've got to turn up to Twickenham and win. So look, of course they'll rue it, and they had the opportunity to win, having come back from a terrible start, but there's still a chance for England to win the overall tournament.
It's huge. First of all, everyone wants to beat England. Everyone hates England, so that's the ultimate game. But there's a big rivalry. England-Scotland is a big game. There's a big rivalry that's sort of developed over the last few years. Ireland-Wales has always been a pretty tasty one. We saw how lively it can get between France and Italy. But ultimately, as an England player, you realise that's the game that everyone wants to win. They want to beat England. France have done it. We'll see whether Ireland can do
it. Teams have. It's been happening since the Premiership started, so most teams have developed a strategy. I suppose the difficult thing is when you lose a big chunk of your team, and particularly if you're not used to it, and we've seen that this year with Leicester Tigers, who've traditionally had a big presence, not having so many players in, but teams like Northampton having more than they were used to losing, but Northampton have done really well, and they're still top of the league 2 games into the Six Nations. So it's about developing that strategy and making sure you've got enough strength and depth. And sometimes you find that players really step up while the internationals are away because it's their only opportunity to prove themselves. And some respects, when Leicester had that problem, it would bring the best out of the team, and it'd strengthen the squad going forward, and the run into the season would always be great, because by the time the internationals came back, you actually had genuine competition for their places.
Probably got both eyes on next year's World Cup. I think it's good that he's given Noel and May a chance. I think May's probably come out on top out of the two of them, although I think Jack both got one eye. I think
poke my one eye.
I'll try not to, not again, not in public. But Jack Noel, I think, is he's doing a lot of unseen work. So a lot of the breaks that are now opening up for Farrell are actually because Noel's appearing on the inside really late, which is bringing defenders off him. It's taking a lot of pressure off Farrell, which is allowing him to play flatter and more attacking. So I won't tell her off because of obvious reasons.
Good journey.
Yeah, it's good to see young guys out there. I'm surprised Ford hasn't been given a bit of a shot. I think he's a bit unlucky, but who knows? Who knows? The World Cup's still a long way away.